Hey everybody, I'm Mike. This is Budget Guns and Gear Reviews, and you are watching The Right of the People, where we use the first to defend the second every Friday night at 11:30 p.m. Eastern. So uncover your keyboards, fire up your fingers, and come join the conversation. Hey everybody, I'm Mike. This is Budget Guns and Gear Reviews. It is Friday, September 25th, 2020, and you are watching The Right of the People, where we use the first to defend the second. I want to welcome everybody to the show, but before I get to you guys, I want to get to my esteemed panel and thank them for coming around. Although Pickles being awful damn sour out there in the pre-show chat, doing an over-under on technical difficulties and how late we'll be today. Bad, Pickle! Bad! How you doing, you treacherous shit?
Well, that's where it looks like Buck lost. He thought it was going to be 5 minutes over, and you weren't. So, no winners on that one.
That's
Other
right.
than that, I'm doing pretty good. You know, I started a new job in just over a week, so.
Oh, yeah? What are you doing?
I'll be doing the same kind of work I am now, just changing companies.
Oh, okay.
Going from one that's about 80,000 employees to one that's about 80.
You know what? That is probably a better working environment because they'll care more about you as a person than just a face. In theory.
Kind of hoping so. You know, as well as I'm hoping, an opportunity to learn more because not going to be pigeonholed as much.
Yeah. Speaking of caring about you as a person, we have the irascible yet lovable Squiblode with us. How are you, sir?
Hey, everybody. Doing all right tonight?
Good.
That's all I can think of to say. I can't think of any.
Glad to hear it. At least that's a good place to start, right?
I mean, just like you, I just got home from work, so that's a good thing for both of us.
I was actually off today. This was my Friday off. I have every other Friday off, so yeah.
You know what, Budget? Nobody cares, okay?
I do.
Also, the supervisor makes some pretty wonky schedules. Wait, hold on a second.
I have
Who
to.
makes the schedules again?
I have to. I'm required to work every other weekend, and then
Yeah, that's
on
just it.
alternate weekends, I have 2 days off, but they got to be split up.
Yeah, you got your Friday off, but next weekend you're working all weekend. Yeah.
No, this week,
It's
yeah,
a trade-off, right?
yeah. Well, I get this week because our weeks are stupid. They start on Thursday. They run Thursday to Wednesday. That's a pay week for us. So this week, I have Friday and Monday off. Then I work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Then I have Saturday, Sunday off. Then I work till Friday, have Friday, Monday off, etc., etc. It's weird.
You don't know if you're
sucks.
coming or going.
No, I don't. But that's the nature of where I work, I guess. Until, maybe someday they let supervisors have weekends off. That would be great. Hey, boss man, if you're listening, send that one up the chain. Anyhow, speaking of boss men, we got the kingpin himself, David Bowling, in the house. How you doing, sir?
Doing well. Just tell your boss, take next weekend off. And when they call and say, hey, man, where you at? Be like, oh, dude, Dave said it was all right. Don't worry.
Yeah, awesome. That's what I'll do then. Roll call. Glad to see you in the house, brother. Sometimes you haven't been able to come play with us lately, man. I'm glad to see you.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
You're always welcome in my domain, brother. Excuse me, please. Tonight's performance is fueled by Rockstar. Well, I don't know what flavor this is. Super Sour Green Apple. Unfortunately, it's not sponsored by them because, I can't get that lucky. But I'm certainly using it to fuel my my fury today.
And you love drinking carbonated beverages right at the start of the show.
I know it's an amateurish thing, but I can't help it, man. I just love them. Speaking of just love them, I want to go say hi to everybody out there in the chat. We got Mystic Guns showing up first. Gun-loving Grandpa coming in second. Pickle himself out there stirring shit up in third place there. Let's see. Who else is here? We got Scott P79 in the house, the poor conservative. Kingpin pulling double duty. And Gabriel's here. And let's see, the Hub 1964. I think that's a new name out there, so welcome to the show. Glad to see you. Squiblift is here, which is Squibload as well, with your multiple account you. Seven Wonders in the house. How you doing, sir? New York Outcast. Hi, Rob. Let's see. 2 Live Moo. Hello, everybody out there in the chat. If I didn't say hi to you, that's because you didn't post nothing. If you have a thought, if you have something you want to share, please do not hesitate to do so. This is a two-way exchange of information. It is not just me lecturing to you. This is very much a conversation. All I ask is that we keep it at PG-13 and we don't put out any race or religion or whatever based hate, because I'm not going to deal with all that kind of garbage. We're talking about the Second Amendment here, folks, and that's where I want to keep it. My mods will handle stuff, even though I might get a little bit excited and, drop an F-bomb or two. I really do try to keep this at PG-13. So let's get into it. Oh, by the way, if you're watching this on the replay, sound off in the comments below, because I want to hear what you think. So, we all know, as last week I did no, I'm not going to have a show, but yeah, I guess I got to, because Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away, which means Donald Trump gets another Supreme Court pick, because the Senate says they're absolutely going to vote on it. And a lot of the senators came around. I was particularly surprised that Mitt Romney came around and said that he would vote on and participate in an approval process there. I was actually really, really surprised by that. But hey, you never know what's going to happen in the nasty, dirty, filthy world of politics, right? Well, it's expected. And CNN has said that, I think it's CNN, has said that some staffers at the White House have leaked who his pick is going to be, which I believe he intends to announce tomorrow. So let's get into this topic. This is from, CNN Politics. Sources: Trump intends to nominate Amy Coney Barrett for Supreme Court. President Donald Trump intends to choose Amy Coney Barrett to be the new Supreme Court justice, according to multiple senior Republican sources with knowledge of the process. In conversations with some senior Republican allies on the Hill, the White House is indicating that Barrett, a federal appellate judge and Notre Dame law professor, is the intended nominee, multiple sources said. All sources caution that until it is announced by the president, there is always the possibility that Trump makes a last-minute change, but the expectation is Barrett is the choice. He's scheduled to make the announcement on Saturday afternoon. A former law clerk to the late right-wing beacon, Justice Antonin Scalia, Barrett would tilt the balance of power on the court further to the right, possibly ahead of a consequential case on health care to be argued the week after Election Day. If her Senate confirmation is successful before the November election, the appointment would mark Trump's third Supreme Court pick in one presidential term, cementing a conservative stronghold in the court for a generation. She has been the leading choice throughout the week since Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg died. She's the only potential nominee known to have met with the president in person, according to two of the sources. One source said Trump was familiar with Barrett already, and he met with her since she was a top contender the last time there was a Supreme Court vacancy, when the president chose Justice Brett Kavanaugh instead. Barrett was seen at her South Bend, Indiana home on Friday. It was not clear if Barrett had been told she is the choice. Often that is done as late as possible to maintain secrecy around the announcement. The machinery is in motion, one of the sources said. In previous nomination announcements, the White House had multiple rollouts planned in case the president made a last-minute decision to switch to another candidate. But one source said it would be surprising if there were a change, since allies are already being told. The White House declined to comment. She was the plan all along. She's the most distinguished and qualified by traditional measures. She has the strongest support among the legal conservatives who have dedicated their lives to the court. She will contribute most to the court's jurisprudence in the years and decades to come, according to a former senior administration official familiar with the process. The mother of 7 children, Barrett, now 48, was confirmed in 2017 for her current judgeship on the 7th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, which covers Indiana, Illinois, and Wisconsin. Born in New Orleans in 1972 and a 1997 Notre Dame law graduate, Barrett worked in a private practice and then became a law professor, settling at Notre Dame in 2002. Advocates on the right have backed her possible nomination because of her writings on faith and the law. Religious conservatives were especially energized for Barrett when, during her 2017 confirmation, Democratic Senator Dianne Feinstein of California suggested to her that the dogma lives loudly within you. Barrett supporters believed the nominee was being disparaged for her Catholicism. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has made clear in conversations with Trump and White House counsel Pat Cipollone that Senate GOP conference would be comfortable with Barrett. 2 people with knowledge of the conversations told CNN earlier this week. Senator Todd Young, who hails from Barrett's home state of Indiana and leads the Senate Republican campaign arm, has also been an advocate, the people said. The president indicated that he has spoken to multiple candidates, but the White House has not been willing to say if other conversations were in person. Barrett was at the White House on Monday and Tuesday of this week. She impressed the president and others during the initial meetings, 2 sources told CNN earlier this week. So, there you go, folks. It looks like it's going to be Amy Coney Barrett. Again, El Presidente could decide he's going to do something else, but chances are that she's going to be the one. What do you guys think? Do you think it's a good decision by Trump? Do you know anything about her legal record and or what her thoughts are on different issues?
From what I understand, she's been pretty by the letter on a lot of things. I don't know a ton about her. But I do know there was a lot of people that thought she should have been nominated over Kavanaugh.
Yeah, I had a picture over Kavanaugh. That's who I thought he was going to go with. I don't know a ton about her legal record, but when they were doing her deposition, and Feinstein started talking about her dogma, I thought she handled herself pretty well. She seemed pretty legit.
Got a couple new people out there in the chat. We got Coffee Guns and Ammo Astronomy. Hello, how you doing? Then Rich the Italian Plumber. That's a new one on me. Welcome to the show. Hope you like what you see and you stick around and be part of the conversation.
She's from my home state, my area, and I have no idea who she is.
Well, that may be a good thing. 7 says Amy is the best choice among those I know anything about. Let's see. Anybody else? All right. So let's go ahead and dive into a little bit about Amy Coney Barrett. At least as far as what she believes about the Second Amendment. Because, Amy Barrett thinks the Second Amendment prohibits blanket bans on gun possession by people with felony records. The SCOTUS Contenders 2019, this is, by the way, by Jacob Sullum from 92320. The SCOTUS Contenders 2019 dissent will alarm gun control supporters, but reassure people who want judges to take this constitutional provision as seriously as others. Ricky Cantor, who owned a Wisconsin company that sold therapeutic shoes and footwear inserts under the brand name Dr. Comfort. Excuse me. There's the first carbonated beverage consequence, right? Anyhow, under the brand name Dr. Comfort, pleaded guilty in 2011 to 1 count of mail fraud for shipping inserts he falsely claimed were approved by Medicare to a podiatrist in Florida. Cantor received a prison sentence of 1 year and a day, followed by 2 years of supervised release. He also paid a $50,000 fine and agreed in a separate civil settlement to pay Medicare a $27 million reimbursement. But that was not the end of his punishment, since his felony conviction meant that he permanently lost the constitutional right to possess firearms. That categorical ban on gun ownership by people with felony records, a feature of both Wisconsin and federal law, cannot be reconciled with the Second Amendment, Supreme Court contender Amy Coney Barrett concluded in a 37-page dissent from a 2019 decision by the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Seventh Circuit. Barrett's thorough and scholarly opinion marks her as a judge committed to applying constitutional provisions in light of their historical background and original public meaning. In the landmark 2008 case, District of Columbia v. Heller, the Supreme Court recognized that the Second Amendment protects the right to own guns for self-defense. At the same time, the majority opinion mentioned that some presumptively lawful regulatory measures, including long-standing prohibitions on the possession of firearms by felons and the mentally ill. But both Barrett and her two colleagues on a Seventh Circuit panel who upheld the federal and Wisconsin bans that Cantor challenged agreed that Heller did not settle the question of whether the Second Amendment allows the government to disarm someone like him. The constitutionality of felon dispossession was not before the court in Heller, and because it explicitly deferred analysis of this issue, the scope of its assertion is unclear. Barrett wrote, "For example, does presumptively lawful mean that such regulations are presumed lawful unless a historical study shows otherwise? Does it mean that as-applied challenges are available? Does the court's reference to felons suggest that the legislature cannot disqualify misdemeanants from possessing guns? Does the word long-standing mean that prohibitions of recent vintage are suspect?" In addressing a question that she and the majority agreed Heller left unresolved, Barrett considered English common law, proposed and ratified provisions of state constitutions in the U.S., and firearm restrictions enacted in the 18th and 19th centuries. Her conclusion: history is consistent with common sense. It demonstrates that legislatures have the power to prohibit dangerous people from possessing guns. But that power extends only to people who are dangerous. Founding-era legislatures did not strip felons of the right to bear arms simply because of their status as felons. Nor have the parties introduced any evidence that founding-era legislatures imposed virtue-based restrictions on the right. Such restrictions applied to civic rights like voting and jury service, not to individual rights like the right to possess a gun. In 1791, and for well more than a century afterward, legislatures disqualified categories of people from the right to bear arms only when they judged that doing so was necessary to protect the public safety. That rationale does not easily fit laws that take away the Second Amendment rights of anyone who has ever been convicted of a felony, or, under federal law, a crime punishable by imprisonment for a term exceeding 1 year, which is similar but not quite the same thing, no matter how long ago the offense occurred and whether or not it involved violence or even an identifiable victim. While Cantor ripped off Medicare, and therefore taxpayers, the government presented no evidence that his particular crime or any other personal characteristics showed that he had violent tendencies that posed a threat to public safety. The categorical ban on gun possession by people with felony records is therefore wildly over-inclusive, Barrett noted, quoting UCLA law professor Adam Winkler. It includes everything from Cantor's offense, mail fraud, to selling pigs without a license in Massachusetts, redeeming large quantities of out-of-state bottle deposits in Michigan, and countless other state and federal offenses, she wrote. The ban is also under-inclusive, she added, since people may reasonably be deemed dangerous even when they have not been convicted of a felony. For example, when they commit certain violent misdemeanors, another disqualification under federal law. Given the poor fit between the ban's scope and its ostensible purpose, Barrett said, it is not substantially related to an important government interest, the test under the intermediate scrutiny that the majority said it was applying in this case. Neither Wisconsin nor the United States has introduced data sufficient to show that disarming all nonviolent felons substantially advances its interest in keeping the public safe, she wrote. Nor have they otherwise demonstrated that Cantor himself shows a proclivity for violence. Absent evidence that he either belongs to a dangerous category or bears individual markers of risk, permanently disqualifying Cantor from possessing a gun violates the Second Amendment. Barrett closed with a warning that will alarm gun control advocates but reassure people dismayed by the failure of federal courts to follow up on Heller and the Supreme Court's 2010 decision in McDonald v. City of Chicago, which made it clear that the Second Amendment applies to state and local governments by taking the right to arms as seriously as other constitutionally protected rights. While both Wisconsin and the United States have an unquestionably strong interest in protecting the public from gun violence, they have failed to show, by either logic or data, that disarming Cantor substantially advances that interest, she wrote. On this record, holding that the ban is constitutional as applied to Cantor does not put the government through its paces, but instead treats the Second Amendment as a second-class right, subject to an entirely different body of rules than the other Bill of Rights guarantees. So that's her thoughts on the Second Amendment, folks. And to me, that sounds pretty damn good. What do you guys think? Am I reading too much into that?
Well, see, I don't think you're reading enough into that, actually. Yeah, on the surface, that's pro-Second Amendment. But when you look deep, at least when I'm looking deeper into it, that's the kind, and I'm not trying to make this woman a saint. I'm just saying what we're talking about right now.
Sure.
If she's rationally thinking out that type of stuff, that's what a judge does. That's what a judge does. That's somebody that you want making judgments on stuff. So yeah, it's really awesome that she's like in favor of keeping the Second Amendment alive and strong. But the rationale that she took to make that decision is just as important.
What it sounds like to me is that she is a constitutionalist. As written, this is what the document says.
That's how it sounds to me as well. And with the idea of someone convicted of, being, not a blanket ban, certain states already allow that's where if you, even if you're convicted, okay, and you're no longer able to have, if you stay out of trouble for a certain amount of time, you can petition. Maybe instead of just having a blanket, hey, you got out of jail or prison, you can automatically have it back, maybe implementing something, if she were to suggest it, some sort of petition process may be appropriate. But overall, it sounds like she's a letter of the Constitution type person rather than a, well, I don't like this, so no one should have it type personality. That might be just what we need on the court right now.
Well, I think that's where the rationale comes in, because you got to define, if we're going to say that violent felons shouldn't be able to own guns, or we're going to say violent felons should be able to own guns, then it all starts to break down to the conversation we've had before. If you get locked up for hitting somebody with a hammer and the judge gives you 10 years and you serve 10 years, why are you still a felon? I get the probationary period. You're out for 2 years to see how you're going to adjust back to normal life. But 10 years later, why are you still a felon? If you're still dangerous, why aren't you still in jail?
Well, and that hits on what I think with this, and this is just my personal opinion. Let's not have blanket dispossession at all. Let's look at the individual. I know that's crazy.
That's where you'd have to have defined, like you'd have to have it clearly defined what a violent felon means. And
I'm not talking about it. I'm not talking about a violent felon. I'm talking about, okay, so we have this case. This guy's completed his sentence. Let's evaluate him. Is he dangerous? I don't care what kind of, once you're out and you've served your time and you've paid your debt and you've done your parole and you've behaved yourself and you are becoming a productive member of society, should you not regain your rights? If you are behaving in a responsible civic manner, or if you are being a dumbass, that's how it should be based on, not what your crime was. Except for sex offenders, they should all be drawn and quartered, but that's something else.
Well, and that's where keep them in jail. Keep them in jail. If somebody gets into a fist fight and pummels some guy and goes way too far just because he's raged up, and he gets 5 years in jail for that, well, and then 5 years probation, and then like you said, Budget, he's rehabilitated. He doesn't want to go back to jail. He wants to lead a normal life like everybody else has been doing. Then of course he should be able to get his rights back. If he went out and beat 6 grandmothers with a baseball bat, build a prison around him and then bury it under the ground somewhere. Don't ever let him out again.
Squib, you've been silent on this issue. Do you have an opinion, or are you reserving it to yourself?
About the felons and gun thing?
Well, let's get back on track with Amy Coney Barrett and her apparent opinion on the Second Amendment and the Constitution in general.
I mean, if she gets in, we'll see after she gets in.
So you think it's too early to actually have an opinion on it, despite what she has done and said in the past?
So when Trump was when Trump was running for election, and you brought up the whole what's most important is the fact that he could be picking Supreme Court justices. Mm-hmm. I hadn't considered that, and you brought that up, and I thought about it, and you explained it, and I said, you know what, he's got a point. He's thinking strategically. And so far, everything Trump has done with regard to Supreme Court justices, the gun community has whined and cried about. So even if he gets her in, whether he gets reelected or he doesn't, but he's able to get her in, until she's in, we won't really know. I mean, I could easily see her getting in, and a year from now, medium-sized YouTube channel X will be having a show whining and complaining that she doesn't want to hear any 2A, cases either. So I guess I'm just going to reserve anything until we see what we see.
That is a perfectly reasonable position.
Yeah, that does make sense, because that's where I know, supposedly the last two picks weren't anti-Second Amendment, but they both, as I recall, have voted to decline to hear cases. So I guess, past opinions aren't necessarily, indications of what will be done in the future. So you do have a good point there, Squib.
And see, I've heard they've declined to hear him because they don't think they have enough people on their side. And if she tips the scale, then maybe they'll hear him. And then maybe some people will be eating their words about what they've said in the past, before she was there. But then again, maybe she'll jump on the bandwagon and go, no, I don't want to hear him either. And then we'll hear a bunch of whining. It could go either way.
Yeah. So
I'd really rather wait. But overall, though, I know this show is Second Amendment based, but the little bit I've heard about her says that she's conservative. I want more conservatives on the Supreme Court. Green lighter. Let's move on to the next thing.
I have a dissenting opinion. I think that Squib should fly off the handle on the most irate rant that we've ever heard, instead of being resolute.
What does resolute mean?
Calm, secured, confident, it's basically.
Oh, no, I'm uninterested and ambivalent. I don't really know what that means, but it sounds like it fits.
It does.
Excellent.
Ambivalent means you really don't care one way or the other.
All right, there you go. I mean, I'm not trying to be a wet blanket here, guys, but
no.
With everything that's happened, I'm just look. It's going to be one of two things. It's either I told you so, or well, I guess she's in on it too. Whatever.
No, that's right. I think you bring up some excellent points, Swib, and I appreciate the food for thought.
At this point, I'm cautiously optimistic. Yeah, I think that best describes it. I'm cautiously optimistic. One thing
Power corrupt.
You're absolutely correct.
Absolute power corrupts absolutely.
You are.
She will turn.
Correct.
She will turn tail like everybody else when they get in these spots of power, and everybody will cry. Everybody will moan and complain. But as soon as you give these people all kinds of power, they change their attitudes and they change their morals.
So roll call is pessimistic as hell about this.
Yeah, but what do you do, though?
Might as well be from Missouri saying, show me.
I understand your point, but what do you do? Not give a Supreme Court justice power? I mean, I think that taking power away from the vast majority of the government would be a good idea. But I'm not nitpicking. I'm just curious as to what your opinion is on, like, what your step would be to... Would it be to give them less power is basically what I'm asking.
I mean, look at what have they done for us lately? It's that old term. What have you done for me lately? They haven't done anything the American people have wanted. Congress hasn't done anything the American people have wanted. The House hasn't done it whatever the majority of the people in this country want. You think electing these people to these positions is going to change? It's not going to change for what we need, and that's freedom. You know, and it comes down to the point. When will these people understand that, you know, the American population understand when we continue to give these people power to make decisions and they continuously sit on their hands, when is it time to say enough is enough? They haven't done anything. Congress hasn't done anything since Congress has pretty much been in session, but passed one stimulus bill that put the country in so much debt. And now look at them. They're all fighting over this pick. Well, look at the last two picks he's had. They voted against the Second Amendment. What is she going to do? Is she going to come in there and sprinkle some fairy dust and make these people, you know, open their minds to the Second Amendment? Probably not. You know, I have no faith in government. I don't think these people understand how the government is supposed to cycle. You know, I could write a paper on how the government's supposed to cycle, but is that absolutely going to make it cycle that way? No. It seems every time we put people, doesn't matter who it is, and remember, they're picked by the same people that haven't been doing anything for the American people. So that's what I'm getting at. You know, they're picking people of their stature to go in there and either sit on their hands, not hear cases, or restrict our rights even further. I just think, well, okay, pick her. Let's see what she does. And if I eat crow, I eat crow. I'm not ashamed to eat crow. I'm not ashamed to stand corrected. But look where we're at now. What have they done here? They haven't done anything. It seems firearms scare these people to the point where they don't want to make a decision. And if they do make a decision, it's always the wrong decision.
I think the government's become overall, obviously it's way too big, but I think it's become too important. You know, like we have these conversations about how important the next Supreme Court case is, how important this next mayor election is, how important this next presidential election is. And the way I understand our Constitution and our founding documents, the government is supposed to be basically useless. It's supposed to be irrelevant in all of our lives. You got a military? Yep. You got some roads? Yep. All right, that's all we need. Get out of here.
That would sure be nice. Out there in the chat, it seems like cautious optimism would be the description. The Hub 1964 says her Second Amendment and pro-life stand will have the liberals on their heads screaming. Seven Wonder says, again, I think Amy's a good choice. And Gabriel sounds good to me. Poor Conservative says, just like Gorsuch and Kavanaugh, we'll see if she's friend or foe. New York Outcast points something out, says Squid really loves his governor if you want to get him going. So, yeah. Poor Conservative does say he hasn't been optimistic since Clarence Thomas. So, there we go on all that, folks. There's a movement right now by the Dems to introduce term limits to SCOTUS.
This is my favorite.
But they refuse to, think about term limits for themselves.
Of course not. No,
right.
Crazy.
What I was getting to, that's where they want to, they want to introduce term limits to SCOTUS, refuse to have them for themselves, and I've heard noise. I can't say if it's true or not, but there's been talk about them wanting to add a whole bunch of seats to SCOTUS.
They've been talking about that.
Stacked.
They've been talking about that. This is a piece from Reuters by Andrew Chung from September 24th. Democrats prepare bill limiting U.S. Supreme Court justice terms to 18 years. Democrats in the House of Representatives will introduce a bill next week to limit the tenure of U.S. Supreme Court justices to 18 years from current lifetime appointments, in a bid to reduce partisan warring over vacancies and preserve the court's legitimacy. The new bill, seen by Reuters, would allow every president to nominate 2 justices per 4-year term and comes amid heightened political tensions as Republican President Donald Trump prepares to announce his 3rd pick for the Supreme Court after the death on September 18th of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, with just 40 days to go until the November 3rd election. It would save the country a lot of agony and help lower the temperature over fights for the court that go to the fault lines of cultural issues and is one of the primary things tearing at our social fabric, said California U.S. Representative Ro Khanna, who plans to introduce the legislation on Tuesday, along with Representatives Joe Kennedy III of Massachusetts and Don Beyer of Virginia. Partly due to rising life expectancies, justices serve increasingly long tenures, on average now more than 25 years. Term limits for high court justices have for years had support from a number of legal scholars on both the right and the left. Several polls in recent years have also shown large majorities of the American public support term limits. The bill, the Supreme Court Term Limits and Regular Appointments Act, is the first to try to set Supreme Court term limits by statute, according to Gabe Roth, the executive director of Fix the Court, a judicial transparency group whose campaign for high court term limits have been gaining attention. Some legal observers, including those who favor term limits, say they must be accomplished through an amendment to the U.S. Constitution, which has been interpreted as requiring life tenure for federal judges and justices. The bill seeks to avoid constitutional concerns by exempting current justices from the 18-year rule. Those appointed under term limits would become senior upon retirement and rotate to lower courts. That's perfectly consistent with their judicial independence and having a lifetime salary and a lifetime appointment, Khanna said. You know, on the surface, this sounds reasonable to me. However, I have to be skeptical because of A, who's introducing it, and B, I haven't seen the bill. So I have to wonder what they hope to gain by it, because I do not believe that their camp is altruistic in any way, shape, or form about this. They're seeking to gain political advantage by putting this in effect. I think that would really make some wild swings as to the makeup and tone of the court. I don't know. I'm cautious. Maybe I'd feel better about it if they included term limits for themselves, too. We shouldn't have career politicians.
Yeah, that's for, well, the Supreme Court, they can only sit in the Supreme Court for 18 years, but you can be in Congress for 45 plus. That's what I was looking up. I saw something, I don't know, like Biden, as an example, has been in there for 49 years. How is that any better than having a justice sitting on there for so long?
Again, it's the old adage. They want to hold on to their power. They don't care about anybody else. They care about themselves. There's a reason why they've been in Congress for so long, is because they have guaranteed pensions, guaranteed health care, and they have the best doctors taking care of them. You and I, not so much. If you took all that away from these people, I think they'd have a hard time living just like the rest of the country. And it's a continuation of these people trying to hold on to what they believe is rightfully theirs, and that's power. Not to the people, but to themselves. They've continuously done this, and it's disgusting. The judges can't hold any kind of offices unless we put term limits on. But we've drove this country into the ground, and what you see on when you turn on the news, but that's fine. But we're gonna limit these people? Sounds kind of fishy to me.
Well, we've let him get away with it the whole time. You take Joe Biden, for example, not because he's running for president. No
Take
more,
Joe Biden, please.
but his entire career, he's been a criminal and a failure. He's been a liar. He's been caught plagiarizing. He's been caught lying and cheating. Everything about his entire political career has been an absolute dumpster fire. Copyright obnoxious one. But he got away with it. Remember, Joe Biden's been in D.C. for 47 years. So he's laughed his whole way through that 47 years. And that's going back to what Roll Call said.
I would say that he sniffed his way through it, but
Yeah, I mean, we've given him so much power. And Andrew AOC, as a freshman, like one of her first votes was to vote for the House of Representatives to get a raise.
it'd be nice to give yourself a raise.
Yeah, this was right at the beginning of the Rona, when people were losing their jobs. Like, people were actually losing their jobs. And she was like, no, we need more money.
Out in the chat, let's see. Going back to the prior topic just for a second. Ryan says, if you're not in jail because you served your time and they released you, all rights should be restored. I agree. Defense Dad says, Squib has been really even keeled lately. It's sort of creeping me out. I'm scared. Andrew Faulkner says, if you don't have the numbers to win, taking a 2A case could set us back a lot. Sometimes you have to punt and lean on your defense. Going on the current topic, Honcho Fett says, once I get back to it, doggone it. Honcho Fett says, how many politicians that are elected do so without any personal wealth? How many politicians do their job not protected by security with firearms? None. Seven Wonders says, take away the lifetime benefits from politicians, and I'd bet Lefty, quote unquote, that we would suddenly get far more relatively sincere politicians, and you're probably right. The Dems Midnight Range TM says the Dems are a bunch of bitch crybabies that huff and puff and scream, I'm taking my ball and going home, when they don't get their way. They have shown to be very vindictive. Yeah, I agree with that. Ryan has an interesting idea, says their salary should be whatever their constituents are willing to donate. There's your motivation to do the will of the people. Lunatic Writer says the Dems actually have all the money and are mostly billionaires and millionaires. Yeah, from all their time corrupt in office.
Well, you've seen a prime example. You know, Oreo Cortez won a spot that a dude held for 10 years. 10 years that guy held that spot, and she beat him. And she was poor. She was dirt poor. And look, and this is why I say power corrupts, and absolute power is absolute. Look at how she has turned out. Now she's a money-hungry politician, just like the rest of them. You know, when you start putting these people in the positions of power, you better understand that there's going to be something on the other side that's rubbing. I'm doing the rubbing your fingers together like money.
Yeah,
that's what I'm doing. You know, and there's somebody on the other side that is going to drive them to do something stupid. And it's the constant struggle of this. You know, I'm all for like somebody like her, you know, that was pretty much fed up and said, you know what, I'm going to take a shot, and she wins. And this is the way she acts, like a complete child, a moronic person, and somebody who's on the borderline of insanity with some of the things that she says. Well, that should give these people
she's on the other side. I understand. I agree that she's on the borderline of insanity. I just think she's slightly on the other side of the border. You know, still borderline, just farther over.
Well, yeah,
let's see. Too. The Hub 1964 says, of course, after Ruth dies after 27 years and Trump will have 3 nominated, they want SCOTUS term limits. Typical Democrat power play. And I think that's what rubs me wrong with this. That's what makes me skeptical of the whole thing, is that, you know, when they thought they were going to get all these picks, they weren't saying shit about it. When Hillary was all but the anointed one and it was her turn, they weren't saying nothing about no term limits for SCOTUS. Now that the shoe is on the foot that they didn't want it to be on, now they want term limits for SCOTUS. And I think that's what rubs me the wrong way with it. Yeah. Jimmy Jam says Democrats aren't elected, they're selected. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's how AOC was an upper middle class kid from Westchester. She's not Jenny from the Bronx. So she made up that story.
That's what she says?
Yeah, well, yeah, she's a liar.
Oh, what?
She also
Politicians are upstanding public servants. They don't do things like that, Kingpin. I think you're being a little cynical.
But she was literally selected. Like she did an like what do they call it? An
audition.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. She did. That's funny.
Well, and that's where she may have been quote unquote poor at working as a bartender. She had, somebody was behind her. That's whoever ran that audition with some deep pockets to help her win that, from that guy.
Soros, Bloomberg, who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. But somebody with some pockets. And my concern as well is when you start getting people like that they're selected and then funded by somebody, it means they owe that person. And
he who pays the piper calls the tune.
Exactly. So that's for in the long run, what's that going to end up as well?
Yeah.
Even Nancy Pelosi said you could put a D next to a glass of water and it would have won that election.
I think that's pretty much what they did. Or maybe just a box of rocks. We're talking about, we've spent the
Please
entire...
don't insult rocks like that.
I know. We spent almost an hour talking about court picks and the importance of court picks. I mean, Squibb alluded to my previous statements that one of the most important jobs of a president is to filling the judiciary, the federal judiciary, not just at the Supreme Court level, but at the appellate level as well. All of the federal bench. And, the picks that a president makes affects because of these lifetime appointments, affects the tone of the court and affects the state of our rights for generations. I mean, in the case of Amy Coney Barrett, for example, she's 48 years old. She could have another 40 years on the court. You don't think that could be particularly if she is a staunch conservative as she seems to be, you don't think that could have a tremendous impact on the court, particularly if, during this next few years, we have a couple of the older guys retire and Donald Trump picks some younger justices again who are conservatives. That could have a tremendous impact on the court for 2 generations, right? So, but it's not just the Supreme Court that's important. It's the appellate courts, the circuit courts as well. Because yesterday, the Ninth Circuit heard a challenge to the carry law. If you guys remember the case of Young versus Hawaii, where they're talking, it's about Hawaii's may issue permit system and how no one's being issued permits since the Ninth Circuit found that there is no constitutional right to concealed carry, but then you have to have open carry, and Hawaii isn't doing that either unless you're a security guard. So let's go ahead and read this article from bearingarms.com by Cam Edwards, posted on September 25th, 2020. Ninth Circuit panel hears challenge to carry law. A challenge to Hawaii's ban on the open carrying of a firearm without a license received another day in court on Thursday, as attorneys for the state and a resident challenging the law squared off in front of an en banc panel of judges on the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. The case of Young versus Hawaii is an important case when it comes to the right to carry, and a 3-judge panel on the Court of Appeals has already ruled that the law violates the constitutional rights of residents by requiring them to demonstrate a justifiable need to carry beyond the right of self-defense. The state of Hawaii decided to appeal that decision to a broader panel of Ninth Circuit judges rather than take the case directly to the Supreme Court. And Attorney Neil Katyal, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, which I'm sure I did, and Attorney Neil Katyal, a former acting Solicitor General in the Obama administration, represented the state in the oral arguments held on Thursday. Katyal claimed that Hawaii's restrictive licensing of open carry doesn't amount to an outright ban on carrying, even though the average resident is precluded from the practice. Arguing before an 11-judge en banc panel Thursday, Katyal explained that Hawaii's state law and the County of Hawaii's regulations do not limit open carry permits to security guards. He cited the Hawaii Attorney General's 2018 guidance stating that an applicant can obtain an open carry permit by demonstrating a need to carry a firearm for protection that substantially exceeds the need possessed by ordinary law-abiding citizens. Individuals can carry firearms if they have good cause, Katyal said. That's what Hawaii's law actually is. Katyal implored the judges not to focus on data showing that only security guards have obtained open carry permits. The court must instead look to the plain text of the statute, he said. Ninth Circuit Judge Ryan Nelson, a Donald Trump appointee, said he interprets the text of the county's regulation as only allowing security guards to obtain open carry permits. You would agree that the regulation itself is unconstitutional, meaning the Second Amendment would not permit that, Nelson asked. Katyal replied that the court need not reach the question of constitutionality because any rule that would limit permits to security guards is flatly inconsistent with what Hawaii's state law is. The state of Hawaii is trying a legal strategy very similar to what New York City did in the recent case NYSRPA versus New York City, attempting to change a law after a court challenge in an attempt to claim that the law in question doesn't violate the Second Amendment. The 2018 guidance from the state attorney general theoretically allows someone who's not a security guard to obtain a license to openly carry a firearm, but as Katyal himself was forced to admit, no citizen has actually obtained a license to carry. Katyal argues that the state's prohibition on open carrying dates back more than 150 years and should be upheld as constitutional based on the long-standing nature of the statute. Despite the long history lesson, Ninth Circuit Judge Sandra Ikuta, a George W. Bush appointee who joined O'Scanlan in ruling against Hawaii's open carry restriction in 2018, seemed unimpressed. The history, which I find very ambiguous, your argument as to the history is merely that this right to bear arms is not a core right so that it can be restricted. Is that correct? Ikuta asked. No, Katyal replied. You could see it as core right, but it's always been subject to a good cause restriction in every time period. The Ninth Circuit has already proclaimed that there is no constitutional right to carry a concealed firearm in its decision in a case called Peruta versus San Diego. In that case, a 3-judge panel originally declared that good cause requirements to carry a concealed firearm in San Diego violated the Second Amendment, but Judge Darmu O'Scanlan's opinion was undone by an en banc panel that reversed the decision back in 2016. Since the Second Amendment clearly protects the right to both keep and bear arms, and the Ninth Circuit has said you don't have a constitutional right to carry concealed, then the open carrying of firearms must be protected, right? That was the logic that O'Scanlan when he wrote the majority of opinion in the Young case back in 2018. You can ban one form of carrying for the average citizen, but they must have some means of exercising their right to bear arms. Attorney Alan Beck, who's representing George Young in this challenge to the Hawaii law, argued on Thursday that even under the 2018 guidance from the state's attorney general, the right of the average citizen to carry is being violated because of the unbridled discretion given to police chiefs to approve or deny the licenses. One of the biggest issues in the case is the justifiable need or good cause requirement to obtain a license. Several other appellate courts, including the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals, have struck down similar requirements for concealed carry licenses as a violation of the Second Amendment. With a split in the lower courts, the case would seem ripe for an eventual review by the Supreme Court if the en banc panel decides that Hawaii's open carry law doesn't violate the Constitution. If the Ninth Circuit upholds O'Scanlan's opinion in the Young case, it's unclear whether the state would appeal the case to the Supreme Court or reluctantly take the loss and adopt a shall-issue standard for the open carry licenses. The en banc's panel likely won't come down until after the election in November, so what the Supreme Court will look like by the time justices have the opportunity to hear the Young case is anyone's guess. If nothing else, Thursday's oral argument was another reminder of the importance of the Supreme Court in this year's election and why the vote in November could determine the future of the Second Amendment jurisprudence for decades to come. This is definitely a case to follow, folks. I'm eagerly awaiting what the en banc panel rules and then finding out where they want to go from there.
Well, that's the Maryland case was one of the cases rotting away at the Supreme Court that they finally swept into the dustbin.
Yes.
And Maryland's case is basically word for word there.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same deal.
You know what's sad? They said, to carry a gun, you had to show, like, cause why you should carry a gun. It's like, well, I might not get robbed today on Tuesday, but, Wednesday might be pretty bad out there, so I'm going to have to go get my gun and stuff and carry it that day. Like, who thinks about, who says stuff like that? You carry a gun every day because you never know what's going to happen. And don't forget, I like Hawaii. Hawaii is part of our history with Pearl Harbor and all the things like that. And, if it sank tomorrow, when they put all like that senator said, you put all the soldiers on one side of the island and it sinks, then it sinks. I like the Hawaii volcano guide people. Those guys are cool that are over here on YouTube. Give them a boat, and get them out of there and let that place sink. That place is just like California. They're corrupt individuals over there, and it behooves me to see the people that continue to vote these people into that position. It's I can't even explain it. It's so stupid. And don't forget, Dog the Bounty Hunter is a felon, and he can't have a firearm, and he's a bounty hunter. I think Dog should have a gun.
Mark Miller out there in the chat says Ohio law is about the same as Hawaii. I would disagree completely. Ohio law is just about absolutely opposite of Hawaii. Ohio is a shall issue state, which means if you meet the criteria to have a pistol, to have a basically if you can own a gun, you can have a concealed carry permit. Basically, it's not exact, but just for short purposes, if you are able to legally own a firearm, you must be issued a concealed carry permit as long as you have the required training, etc. So you jump through the hoops, you get the permit. There is no discretion. And as far as open carry goes, it is completely legal in Ohio. You do not have to have a permit. You don't have to have anything. All you have to do is be able to legally possess the gun, and you can open carry anywhere in the state with certain restrictions like no-go zones and vehicles and whatnot. So no, Ohio law is very different. I think that I was just saying Ohio because Hawaii's got an H in it. When I see an H at the beginning, I think Ohio because that's why. And Gabriel says he was just listening to the en banc arguments. And I will agree with Mark Miller on this one. If you're a free person, the Second Amendment applies, period. Absolutely correct on that one. I disagree with the fact that we even have to have a permit, but that's the world we live in right now, unfortunately.
Well, that's kind of like the building, like the giant Lego building blocks you get for like the 3-year-olds, basic. When they say, what's your good cause for carrying a gun? I want to.
Cause I wanna.
Yeah, I want to.
And that's it.
Yeah, that's where I think because if that case in Hawaii goes through, I think it's going to affect, of course, not just the 9th, but that'll also set precedent for other places. So that's where with some of these places, the may issues. It seems like if you're not a retired law enforcement or retired judge, some of these places flat out won't give them to you.
Yep. Or if you don't donate sufficient to a campaign fund.
I think it's like 0.1% of Maryland gun owners have a carry permit. It's either, I know it's not as many as 1%, but it might be 0.01 or 0.1%. I'm not too sure.
That's why I
That
like
is some
Indiana.
bull.
I like Indiana because you can get a permit as long as you're an Indiana resident, and you don't have to have that required training type of deal that some people do.
Yeah.
And it's a shall issue state unless you are a felon or been convicted of a misdemeanor crime of domestic violence.
Yeah, they're Ohio is substantially similar, except we have the 8-hour training requirement. Yeah. So we'll keep an eye on this case. Something else we need to keep an eye on. Old Mike Bloomberg is at it trying to influence the elections. And while this isn't strictly a Second Amendment story, given that it's Bloomberg involved and why he's doing what he's doing, well, you know, that's enough for me, because he is the godfather of the gun control movement. So this is from the dailymail.co.uk. Is Bloomberg trying to buy the Florida vote? Billionaire pays off more than $20 million in debt for 31,000 felons so they can vote in the state where just 537 votes decided the presidential election in 2000. By Valerie Edwards for Daily Mail from September 22nd, 2020. Billionaire Mike Bloomberg has paid off $20 million in debt for more than 31,000 felons in Florida so they can vote in the state where just 537 votes decided the presidential election in 2000. The former Democratic presidential candidate stepped in to help felons who have completed their prison sentences so they can vote on November 3rd. Bloomberg, who is worth more than $50 billion, raised more than $20 million to assist in his endeavor while also pledging $100 million to help Joe Biden win Florida. We know to win Florida, we will need to persuade, motivate, and add new votes to the Biden column. This means we need to explore all avenues for finding the needed votes when so many votes are already determined, Bloomberg said in a written statement. The right to vote is fundamental to our democracy, which isn't a democracy, it's a republic, and no American should be denied that right. Working together with the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition, we are determined to end disenfranchisement and the discrimination that has always driven it, the statement added. A Bloomberg advisor told the Washington Post, Mike wanted to get this done for two reasons. One, because it's the right thing to do for the democracy. Again, it's a republic. You would think someone who had aspired to the highest elected office in our country would know that, but... and two, because it immediately activates tens of thousands of voters who are predisposed to vote for Joe Biden. And that's it right there. That is the one, the only. Just be honest. The move comes just days after Florida Governor Ron DeSantis won a court victory to keep felons from voting until they've paid off fines, restitution, and court fees. A federal appellate court ruled on September 11th that in addition to serving their sentences, Florida felons must pay all fines, restitution, and legal fees before they can regain their right to vote. The case could have broad implications for the November elections. Florida has 29 electoral college votes that are crucial to President Donald Trump's hopes of staying in the White House. Under Amendment 4, which Florida voters passed overwhelmingly in 2018, felons who have completed their sentences would have voting rights restored. I think that's a good thing, though. Don't get me wrong. You know, as I was talking about with Second Amendment, that goes to every right. So I think someone who's completed their sentence, paid everything off they need to pay, they're totally done, they've no longer in the bad guy column, should have their rights restored, which includes the right to vote. So let me be clear on that before we go any further. Republican lawmakers then moved to define what it means to complete a sentence, which they should have done. In addition to prison time served, lawmakers directed that all legal financial obligations, including unpaid fines and restitution, would also have to be settled before a felon could be eligible to vote. The Florida Rights Restitution Coalition has raised about $5 million before Bloomberg made calls to raise almost $17 million more, according to Bloomberg staffers. The money is targeted for felons who registered to vote while the law was in question and who owe $1,500 or less. That accounts for about 31,100 people, the staffers said. In a state that decided the 2000 presidential election by 537 votes, that could be critical in a year when polls showed Trump and Biden in a dead heat. Organizers for the group say they aren't targeting people registered with a particular political party. To hell with politics, to hell with any other implications or insinuations. At the end of the day, it's about real people, real lives, American citizens who want to be part of this, said Desmond Meade, the group's executive director. People with felony convictions have had their voices silenced for so long, Meade added. The group said other donors included John Legend, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, MTV, Comedy Central, VH1, Ben & Jerry's, Levi Strauss & Company, the Miami Dolphins, the Orlando Magic, the Miami Heat, and Steven Spielberg. Now, again, I think that felons, as long as they are no longer a danger to society and they have completed their sentences and have jumped through the hoops, should be able to have their rights restored. Everybody makes mistakes, and as long as you're not a danger to society, become a productive member and enjoy all the rights, responsibilities, and privileges appertaining thereunto. That being said, is it legal, what they're doing? Is this potentially buying votes? Well, I'm not the only one asking that question. Oh, no. According to this piece from NBC News, Florida Attorney General calls for investigation into Bloomberg-backed felon voting rights effort. The former New York City mayor helped raise at least $16 million for felons to pay off outstanding legal fines and fees. By Nicole Villa-Irada from September 23, 2020. Florida Attorney General Ashley Moody on Wednesday called for an investigation into an effort backed by Mike Bloomberg to help restore the voting rights of thousands of felons ahead of the November election. The former New York City mayor partnered with the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition to help raise at least $16 million for felons to pay off outstanding legal fines and fees in order to regain the right to vote. The effort is targeting around 32,000 former prisoners who owed less than $1,500 in restitution fees and had already registered to vote. Today, I sent the letter to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement and the Federal Bureau of Investigation into potential violations of election laws, Moody said in a statement on Wednesday, and I've instructed the statewide prosecutor to work with law enforcement and any statewide grand jury that the governor may call. While she does not explicitly call for an investigation into Bloomberg himself, her letter to the two agencies cites a Washington Post article on his involvement. She said that Florida Governor Ron DeSantis asked her to review the matter. Florida voters passed a measure in 2018 to restore voting rights to felons who have not been convicted of murder or sexual offenses and who had completed their sentences. Republicans in the state legislature responded by passing a law in 2019 requiring those felons to pay an outstanding fines and fees to consider their sentence complete. Voting rights groups sued over the law, comparing it to a poll tax, but an appeals court earlier this month ruled the law was constitutional. The right to vote is fundamental to our democracy. Again, it's a republic. And no American should be denied that right. Working together with the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition, we are determined to end disenfranchisement and the discrimination that has always driven it, Bloomberg said in a statement on Tuesday after the initiative was announced. Bloomberg spokesman Jason Schechter responded to the pushback by saying that this transparent political ploy is just the latest example of Republicans attempting to keep Floridians disenfranchised. Representative Matt Gaetz, Republican Florida, first raised the possibility of an investigation into the effort in an interview with Fox News' Sean Hannity on Tuesday night, saying he believed the Attorney General may have been looking into it already. It is a felony under Florida statute for someone to either directly or indirectly offer something of value to impact whether or not someone votes. Gaetz told Fox News, you have the question of whether or not paying someone's restitution and court costs constitutes something of value. I think that's a legitimate question. The next step is to determine whether or not this is intended, whether or not someone votes, Gaetz added. The Florida Rights Restoration Coalition did not respond to a request for comment on Wednesday. Participating donors for Bloomberg's partnership, yada, yada, blah, blah, same people that we talked about earlier. Bloomberg separately pledged $100 million in to help former Vice President Joe Biden in Florida earlier this month. Florida will be a closely watched battleground in the upcoming November election after President Donald Trump narrowly won the state by less than 113,000 votes in 2016. The latest statewide polls show Biden and Trump, who are both aggressively campaigning there, locked in a dead heat. So my question to the panel and to the chat is this. Do you think targeting felons who've registered to vote and paying their restitution and stuff, does that constitute, or could it be seen as constituting giving something of value in return for the vote? Discuss.
I would say yes, because he is giving the money with the anticipation that they are going to vote, and being that he has openly supported one candidate over another. If the people know that let's just say one of us on the panel, if we knew our next door neighbor helped us pay off whatever, say a traffic ticket, and then came to ask us for help for something, there's a good chance you're going to feel obligated to help that person with that. So by him helping pay off these guys, these not just guys, but these people's fines, at the same time giving money to one campaign but not the other, certainly I think that would fall under that law.
Before he wrote the check, his lawyers met with these people and said, if you don't do what we tell you to do, we're going to smash you with all these charges and we're going to ruin your life. Don't forget Michael Bloomberg's one of the richest men in the world. And those people said, no problem, I'm voting Joe Biden, guaranteed. I mean, we talk about Coney Barrett and how many people Donald Trump, pushing her through and rushing her through, and the Senate rushing her through. How many people that's going to make vote for Joe Biden and hate Donald Trump? One or two. How many people read this article and see what Mike Bloomberg's doing? How many of those people are going to be like, man, I'm voting for Trump now? How many people are going to remember that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden's staffers, 13 of them, I believe, set up a bail fund for all the Minneapolis protesters, if that's what they call them, those rioters? All these celebrities and all these other people bailing all these people out. Cosmopolitan put out a big tweet, the magazine where you learn about makeup, put out a big tweet asking for people to, help bail out rioters. How many Trump supporters are those people creating? You don't even have to question. We know what he's doing, whether he admits it, whether the facts. He's buying these votes, and Michael Bloomberg. If they don't do what he says, he's going to destroy their lives.
No, he wouldn't. Why would someone who's obviously, donating this money in a philanthropic effort, a charitable good, doing such a good deed to help downtrodden people, he couldn't be so ruthless. Yeah, okay. I can't even keep a straight face after that bullshit. You ain't got $50 billion by not being one ruthless son of a bitch.
Well, it's the same purpose. Like, okay, say it's election day or whatever, and I'm down the street and people are walking to the polls, and I'm handing out $5. Don't forget to vote. Here's $5. Oh, come here. Don't forget to vote.
That would be
who are you? I'm roll call 219. Don't forget I'm a Republican. Oh, I should vote Republican. He just gave me $20. I mean, if this isn't election tampering, I don't know what is. And how blatant it is just tells you that the people in the ivory tower, they don't care. But if you had 60 Trumpers sitting on the side of the road giving people money with their Trump flags waving, they'd be like, well, they're trying to, stir the election. I talked about this on Night Strikes chat. All of a sudden, when Newt Gingrich mentioned Mr. Soros and some other philanthropy Peter Pipers, they cut him off. And they cut him off for a reason. These are the people that have billions of dollars and they control the country, or they control the narrative in the country. Kick these people out of the country. Get rid of them. Soros isn't even an American citizen. Get rid of these people. These people do nothing but damage society. But it's okay for them to go bail out convicts, right? As long as LeBron James is helping too, and, you know, Fiona Apple or whoever else is doing is pitching in for this. See, they're doing something good for society. No, they're not. They're damaging. They're creating false hope, just like they always cry that Trump is creating false hope. I hope these people rot in the HE double hockey sticks.
You can say hell. It's okay.
Well,
Hell.
just think about, I was talking to my parents about this the other day. A Hillary Clinton, a Joe Biden, a Kamala Harris, and a bunch of these rhino Republicans can come out and, like Joe Biden, you know, I'm going to ban fracking. Well, I never said that. I'm going to make fracking the best thing ever. Well, I never said that. He doesn't care. He knows he's lying, and he knows that you know he's lying. But Joe Biden's sitting in his head when he says yes yesterday and then no today. He's do something about it. I dare you. What are you going to do about it? That's what he's saying. That's why he can come out and lie, and all these politicians and these snakes on TV can come out and lie all day, every day with impunity, knowing we know and knowing that that we know that they know and all that kind of stuff. Because what are you going to do about it? Going back to what Roll Call was talking about earlier, these people have way too much power, or at least we think they do.
Speaking of way too much power, I meant to touch on this about I think I did touch on this with the Colorado thing. As a matter of fact, I know I did in the as a Moron of the Week, but this is going to be the last thing in our main topics tonight. This is from NOLA.com. A BB gun was seen in a Harvey fourth grader's bedroom during virtual class. Now he's suspended. It's from September 23rd, 2020 by Famon A. Roberts. Kamari Harrison, a fourth grader at Woodmere Elementary in Harvey, was taking a virtual class in his bedroom when his younger brother came into the room and tripped over a BB gun. The 9-year-old leaned away from his English test, grabbed the unloaded weapon, and put it next to his chair, away from his brother, but in view of the computer camera that showed the scene to his teacher and classmates. By the end of the day, he was facing suspension from school and possible expulsion. Citing a policy based on in-class instruction that administrators have relied on during the coronavirus pandemic, officials from the Jefferson Parish Public School System suspended Kamari for 6 days because he handled the BB gun during the virtual class, documents show. On Tuesday, a school system hearing officer upheld the suspension, which stemmed from a September 11th virtual lesson. Kamari had been out of school ever since, but will be able to return to school Thursday. In upholding the suspension, the hearing officer opted not to expel him, according to a written copy of the decision. Kamari's family say their privacy rights were violated and that he was not given due process by the school system. An appeal of the hearing officer's decision was rejected, and the family is now considering filing a lawsuit in state court. I hope they do. It's not ending here, said Chelsea Cusimano, the attorney hired by the family. It's our intent to explore further options. The case is the latest involving weapons and virtual learning during the coronavirus pandemic. Earlier this month, a Colorado school system suspended a 12-year-old boy for 5 days after he picked up a neon green toy gun during a virtual class. A similar incident occurred in New Jersey with a 6th grader, according to local news media reports. According to interviews and documents from the Jefferson school system, the incident began when Kamari was online for a language arts lesson. Because he was taking a test, he muted the computer. At the time, his brother, with whom he shares the room, was playing in the room and tripped over the BB gun, which was lying on the floor. Harrison left his seat at home momentarily, out of view of the teacher, a school behavior report says. When the student returned, he had what appeared to be a full-size rifle in his possession. He then put the BB gun next to his chair, but the barrel was still visible, the report says. He did not respond to calls from the teacher because he had muted the sound while taking the test, the report says. My brother came in the room and he tripped over the gun, Kamari said during an interview Wednesday. I moved it and put it on the side of me. When he was disconnected moments later from the class, he said he was confused and went out and told his sister. It was only after subsequent calls from the school to his parents, Naron Harrison and Thelma Williams, that they learned he had been immediately suspended and could be expelled. They're treating it as if he brought a weapon to school, Naron Harrison said. They told me he would be facing expulsion. Naron Harrison said that he told school officials it was a BB gun, not an actual rifle. He said he bought the gun for Kamari and had taught the boy to use it properly and safely. The gun was not loaded, and Kamari just moved it to get it out of the way, he said. According to the behavior report filled out by the school staff, it was still a violation of school policy. Kamari presented a weapon that appeared to be a rifle shotgun during his Google Meets classroom session. This is a violation of weapons in the classroom setting and a violation of the internet usage policy. He will be recommended for expulsion as per JPPSS policy, the report says. During a subsequent expulsion hearing, the hearing officer did not expel Kamari, but suspended him for 6 days for displaying a facsimile weapon while receiving virtual instruction, according to a copy of the decision. Cusimano said that when she inquired of school officials about specific rules for distance learning, she was directed to their on-campus rules and due process policies. Kamari said that he was sad about the decision and he was kind of looking forward to getting back to school. In response to questions regarding the case, a school system spokeswoman issued a short statement. We do not comment on individual student records. Regarding discipline, it is our policy that teachers and administrators may employ reasonable disciplinary and corrective measures to maintain order. So apparently, your house is school property. So here's the thing. Number one, what kind of fucking bullshit are these people smoking? My house is my house. Fuck you, it ain't no school. Second, what's going to happen to you if you walk in that room to check on your kid or do whatever and you happen to be carrying a gun? Are you then carrying a gun on school property and subject to being arrested? Fuck this shit. My house is my house. Not yours. Kiss my ass, people.
Seems like there's a lot of these, because there's been multiple of these stories coming around recently, in the last month or so. Seems like some of these schools are really stretching, try to, impose their will on, in everyone's homes, which is a serious issue for me. Like you said, what happens if the parent happens to walk by the camera? But that's where, unless the school has paid for your home to provide you a place to have that kid teach, it's not their property and they should have zero say.
There's companies out there that when they have their online meetings, kind of like their internet meetings like this, if you don't have a mask on, they'll suspend you from your job.
They can kiss my ass too.
In Tennessee, parents in certain school districts had to sign a waiver that said that they would not monitor their kids while they're online in school.
That ain't happening either.
I've been trying. I talked about it on Rick's show the other day, and I'm not going to go deep into it. I think everybody knows how I feel about it now. But they're after your children.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, they're after your children.
So a couple days ago, my son was doing online school, and I could hear him talking to the teacher. Then I heard him say something loudly to one of his friends that made me think he was on one of his video games. And I ran up to the room to shut that down because he's not playing video games while he's doing schoolwork. And I came right in that room and I just tore him a new one. And I guess he was in between classes, and my wife said, if he had been on with his teacher, they would have heard everything you said to him. And like you said, Budget, this is my fucking house. You stay the hell out of it.
That's
it's
right.
not my problem that my tax dollars pay your fucking salary and you motherfuckers don't have the balls to show up to your job every day like the rest of us. Mask,
Yep.
no mask, I don't care. You can cower in your homes, drinking your wine while you're doing your classes, or do it in the classroom, in an empty classroom with the school, or however it's done in each school district, whether it's part-time, full-time, whatever it is. That wasn't my choice. Most of the parents in my school district, they had an online meeting with the school board. Most of the parents in my school district wanted the kids to go back to school and wanted the teachers and the faculty back in school. And the school district said, we don't really care what you think, we're going to do what we want to do. And we have no recourse here. We have no recourse against it. So they forced us to have our kids online. And they said, you have to have a webcam. I bought them a damn webcam. Why do they have to see what my kid is doing? I don't care if my kid is screwing off or my kid is 100% attentive. That's not their problem. This is in my fucking house. So you stay the hell out of it. If you don't like it, then go to work every day like the rest of us, because it's the damn flu, people. Teachers risk getting sick from normal stuff prior to COVID because they're dealing with a bunch of nasty kids all day long. If you don't like it, go work another job. But you take that job because you get lots of paid time off. Let's get real. It's not about, I care about kids. It's, I want to work in a nice, clean environment, wear nice clothes, work banker hours, and work half the year and get a full year's salary. And if teachers out there are insulted I say that, I don't care. As a parent, I'm frustrated because I have to deal with a bunch of people like that with their powerful teachers union and the school board, and there's nothing I can do about it other than put my kid in private school, which I'm not about to pay for. And we've looked into anyhow, and our kids don't want it. They want to be in public school, and there's nothing wrong with the academics in the public school. You know, it'd be nice if they could do sports and stuff, but they can't do that either. And then as far as the whole homeschooling thing, sure, we could homeschool. But once again, my kids don't want that stuff. They want to interact with other kids. I think that's part of the reason most of the parents in our district wanted their kids to go back to school. They want them to have social skills. They want them to be able to interact with other kids their age in person instead of everything online. When you homeschool a kid, you take them away from that environment. I'm not saying it's wrong. You make your choice for your kids in your home for your life, and I'll make mine. And ours has been public school, even though we've looked into homeschooling, even though we've looked into private school, even though, it doesn't matter. If that's the case, give me a refund on my taxes or lay off everybody in my damn school district. How's that?
Awesome. Double thumbs up. I approve. I can't believe that they seem to think that it's just totally okay to dictate what's kosher in your house. You don't tell me shit about my house, buddy. Period. Flat out. Kiss my fat ass.
Yeah, if they can tell me what's okay in my home, then I can walk through their front door and tell them what they have to do in their home.
Yep. And see, I get so sick of people who've never had children telling me that I'm a bad parent because I'm not involved in my child, and I'm letting the schools and the government and society brainwash my children, and they're going to grow up this way. Are you in my fucking house? You don't know what I do.
Nope.
You don't know what I do, and until you raise kids of your own, you'll have no perspective. You have a right to your opinion, but you sound like an idiot. I was involved in, and I could have very well had the cops knock on my door because the police could have called because I was abusing my child. I can yell at my kid all I want.
Yep.
He's my kid. But no, so that was a risk. Disciplining my child because, got to be worried the school might be listening in on me.
Kamala Harris is in favor of extending the hours that kids go to school. They want the Democrats, like Elizabeth Warren.
That's longer to brainwash them.
Yeah, Elizabeth Warren was another one that was trying to promote that.
Yeah. Sorry, folks. I know I got kind of wound up there. Midnight, if you want to give it to me, yep, I'll take that one. It just pissed me off so bad to think about it that they're doing this. How the hell are they going to tell me that? I mean, really, that's the next logical extension of this. Is that your house is now a school zone, and if you walk within view of that camera carrying a gun, and with me, when I put my pants on, I put my gun on. I carry it all day, every day, even at home. So if I walk into if my son's in virtual school and I walk into his room to check on him, am I then carrying a gun on school property, on school premises, on campus? Am I subject to being arrested for carrying a gun in my house? Bullshit.
Like I said, unless that school bought you that house and you had a place for that kid, then they should have zero say.
None. Well, I guess I was just crying a bunch of conservative tears there. You know, I was a little bit upset. I think we should all be upset. I think we should all be upset by that. And speaking of upset, liberals have been melting down all week. Here is just a slight, tiny, itty-bitty taste.
Holy you guys! I'm driving.
Are you going to show the chick in the car?
Yes. Yes, I was until you talked over it. Doggone it. I know you guys can't hear it, but dang.
Holy you guys! I'm driving your car, but I just got a notification that Ruth Bader Ginsburg died! Could this year get any worse?
Yeah, it can, honey. Wait till Donald wins. Again.
2021!
That video is so awesome. So great. I'm going to have to, like, keep that because that's pretty doggone awesome. But she's not the only one. All over the Twitterscape and everywhere else online, friggin' liberals their heads are exploding, and it's pretty awesome. This is a piece from Town Hall. It says Don Lemon has a total meltdown over Trump filling Ruth Bader Ginsburg's SCOTUS seat, from September 22nd, 2020, by Matt Vespa. CNN's Don Lemon has to be given a raise. Seriously, his meltdowns are pure gold, and they never cease to amaze. Lemon, like most of liberal America, is going nuts over the prospect of Donald Trump picking the late Ruth Bader Ginsburg's successor on the Supreme Court. Ginsburg passed away last Friday at the age of 87. And because he's president, the whole system has to be destroyed. That's literally what he said. The meltdown was so much that even his CNN colleague, Chris Cuomo, thought it was too much, all but telling him to slow his roll. Lemon justified this because Trump was elected by winning the Electoral College but not winning the popular vote, as if this has never happened before. It's happened 4 other times with John Quincy Adams, Benjamin Harrison, Rutherford B. Hayes, and George W. Bush. We're still here, and it's a rare occurrence. Yet, Lemon said because the minority has a say, we need to destroy the Electoral College and whatever he sees fit, because this is a grade A liberal temper tantrum. Let's go ahead and listen to this.
No matter what happens, everybody sticks with their team.
We're going to have to blow up the entire system. And you know what we're going to have to do?
No, I don't know
you know what we're going to... Yes,
yeah.
we have to do?
You just got to vote.
Honestly, from what your closing argument is?
So, old Don Lemon is saying that we got to blow up the entire system. Is this Fredo? Fredo, I think it's Fredo. Fredo's saying, yeah, no, we don't necessarily have to blow it up. Yeah, we do. You just got to vote.
You're going to have to get rid of the Electoral College. Because the people...
I don't see it.
Because the minority in this country decides who the judges are and they decide who the president is.
But you need a constitutional amendment to do that.
And if Joe Biden wins, Democrats can stack the courts and they can do that amendment and they can get it passed.
Well,
and then if Joe Biden wins, Democrats can stack the courts and they can do that amendment and get it passed. Nicholas Fondacaro says in a tweet, so stupid even Fredo can't believe what he's hearing. Don Lemon actually argued that if roles were reversed and Dems controlled the Senate, they would let Trump nominate his SCOTUS pick, adding, we're going to have to blow up the entire system because minority GOP have a voice.
if the Democrats were in control of the Senate right now, and Trump was president, and he wanted to nominate
If you go back to the
I think
crazy
they did the same
lady
thing
in
they
the
did
car.
in 2016. They do
If
it.
you listen to what she says, she starts screaming and she's like, you couldn't have waited till 2021.
2021, yes.
That's how despicable and subhuman the left is.
Oh, yeah.
We all hate Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and I was openly saying that, who cares? I'm not really concerned. I think she was negative. I as a human being, It's sad that she's, she died. She's got a family, but as a person, I think we're better off without her. And I know that's, kind of raw and maybe not PC, but I'm supposed to say that kind of stuff. That girl in the car was supposed to be a fan, was supposed to be tolerant and loving and accepting. And she's yelling at a woman who's already dead. Why couldn't you have died 2 months later?
Yeah.
Like Bensberg was sitting there going, well, today seems like a pretty good day to die. I got nothing else to do.
So there you have it, folks. Liberals are in full meltdown mode over this, and I think their tears are so sweet and wonderful.
Did you see the one with the flags? Have you found the one with the flags yet? When the girl's driving and the guys are driving their trucks with the flags on it?
No.
Oh man, that's beautiful. This
Oh,
girl
oh my
totally.
God. You gotta find it.
The one driving?
Find
Oh,
it.
wait,
I
wait.
swear.
That idiot?
Yeah.
That idiot who crashes her car? Is that what you're talking about?
I don't know if she crashed her car, but she was crying because dudes were driving their pickup trucks with like Trump flags and thin blue line flags, and she was crying and she felt threatened.
No, I haven't seen that one.
Total meltdown. Absolute meltdown.
Dude, it is unreal.
Aha! That's what I'm looking for. Because, well, it doesn't shock me because people are just stupid, right? Speaking of people being stupid.
And now prepare yourself for another tale of stupidity in this episode of Moron of the Week.
Yes. It's fast becoming my favorite segment, Moron of the Week. Let's see what we have in store for us today. First up, this is an article from Legal Insurrection from September 22nd, 2020. Video. Woman driver crashes car while flipping the bird at Trump supporters. A woman crashed her car after she leaned out the window to flip off a MAGA corner rally. Yes, this woman was driving her car, took her hands off the steering wheel, leaned out the window, and flipped off a bunch of strangers. They were not in her way or bothering her. So, Trump derangement syndrome is real, and this is from the tweet by John D. at Red Wing Grips. Woman had a TDS meltdown over a MAGA street corner rally, then proceeded to hit the vehicle in front of her while police were behind her. Let's watch this. And up walk the cops, who she probably wants to defund, right? So there you have it. Woman flipping people off as she drives is awesome. So bird driver, that's our first contestant on Moron of the Week. But wait, as I say, there's more. Someone was out there in the chat asking about this one. And yes, oh yes, I heard about this. Wonderful bastion of strict sanity, Alyssa Milano. This is from dailymail.co.uk. Exclusive. Defund the police activist Alyssa Milano calls 911, sparking massive police presence in her quiet California neighborhood, claiming a gunman was on her property. But it was really a teen shooting at squirrels with an air gun. Actress and defund the police activist Alyssa Milano was quick to call cops when she believed an armed gunman was on her Bell Canyon property on Sunday morning. The call ignited a response that included 7 Ventura County Sheriff's vehicles, 1 K-9 unit, a police helicopter, and one Los Angeles Fire Department team that sat down the street on standby. DailyMail.com has obtained exclusive photos showing the first responders coming to the aid of the 47-year-old at her 5-bed, 6-bath, 8,000-square-foot, $2.5 million home in the upscale gated community that sits just 20 minutes north of Los Angeles. A neighbor tells DailyMail.com, "We first noticed the helicopter circling overhead very low and knew something was going on. It's usually such a quiet community. Then we saw all the police cars parked in front of Alyssa's home. They had their guns at the ready and seemed very serious." Goes to show some photos. Alyssa and her talent agent husband. Okay, as the morning progressed, residents received updates from law enforcement. Alyssa and her talent agent husband, Dave Bugliari, 39, they said, had dialed 911 when they heard what they believed to be gunshots on their 1.39-acre property. They allegedly told the emergency hotline that the sound scared their dogs and made them feel like the gunman was nearby. A description was given of a suspect to the officers who was male, 40 years old, with long rifle. The two, who have been married since 2009, were also concerned that it may be someone stalking the former Charmed and Who's the Boss star. In 2008, Alyssa filed a restraining order against alleged stalker Jeff Turner, a then 54-year-old man she claimed twice tried to break into this same home. The next-door neighborhood app was rife with concerns. "Just drove by about 12 armed officers on Bell Canyon Road," one resident wrote. "They're responding to a call reporting a man with a gun in the neighborhood. This was also the cause of the helicopter. Stay inside, stay safe." Then goes to show a tweet from Alyssa Milano that says, hashtag defund the police. So, folks, liberal hypocrisy, just like liberal tears, knows no bounds. And this earns Alyssa Milano a spot in more. Because this, I'm telling you, folks, this week is going to be a little bit tough. This is from KATU.com from Monday, September 21st. Oregon man shoots self in groin after showing off gun in grocery checkout. Lincoln City, Oregon. A man is in a Portland area hospital after police say he shot himself in the groin area with a handgun Sunday while in a grocery store's checkout line. Officers were called at about 7:30 p.m. on reports of a gunshot injury at McKay's Market on Highway 101 in Lincoln City. They arrived to find 29-year-old Nicholas Ellingford had a self-inflicted gunshot wound to his groin area and leg. He was taken to Samaritan North Lincoln Hospital before being immediately flown to Emmanuel Hospital in Portland in a Life Flight helicopter. Initial reports state Ellingford was waiting in a checkout line when he pulled a Glock 9mm semi-automatic pistol from his waistband to show a friend. As he was putting the gun back in the front of his pants near the zipper, he accidentally pulled the trigger, police say. A bullet went through his groin area and out the lower thigh of his leg, narrowly missing his femoral artery, according to the Lincoln City Police Department. No word on his current condition. No one else was injured in this incident. However, a criminal investigation is ongoing as Ellingford did not have a concealed handgun license and his act was found to be reckless since it placed several people in danger, said Sergeant Jeffrey Wynn. So this guy who is forever going to be known as Ballbuster is a third contestant in Moron of the Week. But wait, oh no, this week just keeps giving. Because from the NewYorkPost.com, man sentenced after police find loaded gun in his buttocks during strip search. From September 19th, 2020. Not now, New York Post. All right. A Louisiana man chose the cheekiest of places when he needed to find a quick hiding spot for his gun. Justin Savoy, 24, pleaded guilty Friday to weapons charges after police in the town of Golden Meadow, who were arresting him late last year on a separate matter, discovered he had stashed a loaded .25 caliber Titan pistol in his buttocks, the Smoking Gun reports. Police had said Savoy had taken Savoy into custody on December 28, 2019, after they responded to suspicious activity in a home he was occupying with a female acquaintance, the report said. Cops said they discovered Savoy possessed a handgun, marijuana, and drug paraphernalia during an initial search. Multiple other firearms were discovered in his truck at the scene, the report said. But as Savoy was being strip searched after his arrest, police reportedly found the additional surprise weapon concealed in his rear end. The pistol was more than 4 inches long with a 2.5-inch barrel. Savoy was sentenced to a 5-year suspended prison sentence during a district court appearance. He received 3 years probation and an order to serve 90 days in the LaForce Parish Jail, the outlet reported. As part of the terms of his probation, he's barred from owning or possessing firearms, visiting bars or lounges, or indulging in excessive use of alcohol or illegal drugs. And I'm sure they gave him one of those ring cushions. So there we got, I've heard of a jail pocket, but never a jail holster. So jail holster is our next contestant in Moron of the Week. And bringing up the rear, so to speak, is Uncle Touchy, Mr. Sniffy himself, Joe Biden, just because he's Joe Biden. So there we have it, folks. Looks like we got Pickle bumped out. Oh, I'm sorry to see him go. But if you got to go, you got to go. Thanks for being here, Pickle. Anyhow, we got Bird Driver, Alyssa Milano, Ballbuster, and Jail Holster, along with Joe Biden as our contestants. Who do you think deserves the title of Moron of the Week the most this week, Squib?
I wanted to go with Biden, but I think I'm going to give it to Milano.
One for Alyssa. Kingpin, who's your favorite this week?
Calaveras put in the side chat that he's voting for Oregon Man.
Ballbuster.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the prison holster.
All right, jail holster for Kingpin. Roll call, who's your horse this week?
I'll do Milano. I'll take her.
Alyssa Milano. So out there in the chat, who do you think deserves the title of Moron of the Week the most? There's 29 out there watching, so let's have some votes. Bird Driver, Alyssa Milano, Ballbuster, Jail Holster, or Joe Biden? Defense Dad says, what a crappy way to secure your firearm. Yes, yes. New York Outcast votes Glock guys, so Ballbuster. Ballbuster for Defense Dad. Dookie Shooter for Honcho Fett. So that's Jail Holster. Coffee, Guns, and Ammo Astronomy says Milano. Guy that comments says Milano. As does the Hub 1964. So far we got 5 Milano, 3 Ballbuster, 2 Jail Holster. M. Gabriel brings it up to 3 for Prison Wallet. Seven Wonders says, as much as he wants to give it to Milano, he's got to vote for Ballbuster. Grim90 says, ask Alyssa. So I'm going to take that as Alyssa Milano. HESA says Milano. Ozzy Osbourne barks at Milano. Midnight Range votes Mud Gunner. That's funny, Mud Gunner. Lunatic Rider says Milano. So far, we got 9 for Milano, 4 for Ballbuster, 4 for Jail Holster. Anybody else want to weigh in on this?
Would that be considered a Shark 19?
Anybody else have an opinion on this? Going once? Going twice? Going 3 times. Alyssa Milano, you are our much-deserved Moron of the Week.
And there we had another tale of stupidity in this week's episode of Moron of the Week.
All right, everybody. Those of you who've been watching the show for a while know what comes next. It is Roll Call 219's mostest favoritist segment, Self-Defense Shoutouts.
Yay!
For those of you who haven't watched the show to the end or who are new to the show, self-defense shoutouts are not where I'm reveling in the prospect that the bad guy won the room temperature challenge by taking a dirt nap. It's where I'm reveling in the prospect that the good guy had the means, method, and opportunity to keep the bad guy from making him do the same. First up is this piece from foxla.com. Resident shoots, kills intruder in Pico River, the 8400 block of Serapis Avenue, east of Rosemead Boulevard, around 1:20 a.m., and found 2 victims suffering from gunshot wounds, according to the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. Authorities said the 2 suspects had been trying to get into the home through the window. The resident woke up to the sound of shattering glass and saw one man inside his home. He reportedly grabbed his handgun and shot the suspect. The resident then noted another intruder just outside his window. He said the second suspect appeared to be reaching for a weapon, so he opened fire on that man as well, fatally shooting him. The other alleged burglar ran from the home, and a female getaway driver took him to a nearby hospital where he was met by sheriff's deputies and arrested. The getaway driver was also arrested. The resident was taken to the sheriff's station to undergo questioning. It was unclear if the home was specifically targeted. Additional details were not immediately available. Next up in self-defense shoutouts, this is a piece from the Miami Herald by David J. Neal, September 21st, 2020. Gas station robbery attempt ends with one man shot dead, Broward Sheriff's Office says. A Pembroke Pines man who tried to be an armed robber became a shooting fatality before dawn Sunday, the Broward Sheriff's Office said. BSO says Stephon Brown, 34, walked into the Valero gas station at 2400 West Sunrise Boulevard around 5 a.m. and pulled out a gun to rob the place. The clerk pulled out his own gun and fired, hitting Brown several times. Brown managed to get out of the Valero and across Northwest 24th Avenue before falling on the sidewalk in front of a McDonald's. Fort Lauderdale Fire Rescue got Brown to a hospital where he died. So he played a stupid game and won the stupid prize. Last, but most certainly not least, from the Chicago Sun-Times, 2 suspects fatally shot by resident in Waukegan, attempted home invasion. This is by David Struett from September 22nd, 2020. A resident exchanged gunshots with 2 people allegedly trying to break into a Waukegan home Tuesday morning, fatally striking them. The deadly attempted burglary unfolded about 10 a.m. in the 100 block of Frolic Avenue, according to a statement from Waukegan police. A person in the home confronted 2 males, one of whom was armed, trying to break into the home, and an altercation occurred in which they exchanged gunfire, police said. Officers showed up at the home and found 2 males dead in the front yard, police said. Their names have not been released by the Lake County Coroner's Office. Waukegan Police Commander Joe Florup was unable to provide ages of the shooting victims or provide details about the altercation that led to the shootout. The shooting happened within a block of Motel 6 that's been the site of 2 murders since late August. John Cannon, 24, of Waukegan, was fatally shot on September 8th at the Motel 31 North Green Bay Road, authorities said. On October 26th, another man was shot to death at the same motel. I guess don't go to the Motel 6 in Waukegan. So there you go, folks. We have some instances in which, despite what NPR would have you believe, the good guy with the gun stopped the bad guys. Cold.
I've got...
And that's how it should go.
Sorry, people in the chat room, but I'm going to say it out loud now. I've got a story for the after chat involving the this specific topic. This is a bonus for the after chat.
Okay. And on that note, folks, it's that time. I want to thank you guys all for joining me. I see we only had one guy thumb it down. It must be the dude that I timed out. So thank you for the thumbs. Thank you. Matter of fact, thank you for the thumb down, dude. Engagement is engagement, and I love it all. Want to say thank you to my wonderful chat. First off, I'll say thank you to Calaveras 32 Special. Thanks for being here, and thanks for being a part of the show and giving your opinion, buddy. I appreciate it, and you're welcome back anytime. Speaking of welcome back anytime, we have the irascible yet lovable Squibload in the house. Thank you so much for being here, sir. Is there anything you'd like to leave us with?
No, thanks for the invite, and thanks for doing what you do.
Hey, man. Thank you for being a part of it. Speaking of thank you for being a part of it, Kingpin, is there anything you'd like to leave us with today?
Always a pleasure, sir. An honor to be with you and everybody in the chat. And go check out Defense Dad's channel. Defense Dad puts out some pretty cool stuff.
And last but absolutely not least, we have Rocall 219. Where can people find you? And would you like to leave us with any final words of wisdom, sir?
Yeah, thanks for for having me. I'm glad to get back in the groove of things, the swing of things, or whatever kind of things you want to say things. You can find me on Instagram at rollcall219, but you can find me on YouTube as well at rollcall219, and Twitter, where I tweet the world's most horrible people and probably make fun of them. Also, I want to give out a shout out to Gary Gizzard. Congratulations for making SHOT Show for the first time under your channel, and you don't have to hitch a ride anymore because you're cool now. So congratulations to Gizzard. I was turned down once again, but hey, what can you do? So yeah, go over there and sub to Gary Gizzard, get him up to 1,000 subs. That way he can do stuff from his phone if he's on the road at SHOT Show. That'd be helping him out pretty well. Other than that, man, just go check out my stuff. I'd like to get to 700 subs. I got a pretty cool giveaway package put together for a lucky winner. So go over there and check it out. Thanks.
Hey, thank you for being here. I want to second that. Go check out Gizzard Gary. Let's get him up to 1,000 subs so he can live stream from SHOT Show. That would be really cool. Speaking of really cool, I'd like to give a shout out and a congratulations to CloverTac for exceeding 1 million views. And like to announce that I joined him. I just checked today and I'm at over 1 million views, like 1.1 million. So awesome on that. I'd like to thank all of you out there who actually watch this stuff. Speaking of thanking all of you out there, I definitely want to thank all of you who are out there, particularly those who've been here from start to finish and have watched this entire thing. As I say every week, I am humbled and amazed, and that's because I am humbled and amazed that you've chosen to spend this time with me when you could have been doing anything else on your Friday night, but you're here. That means a lot to me, folks. That's why I do this. You know, it's just so awesome. You know, we are at a crossroads in our history as a nation, you know, with the Supreme Court nomination coming up and with the potential to pick some more Supreme Court justices over the next 4 years as the older members of the court either retire or pass away. And not to mention still continuing to flip the circuit courts and the federal judiciary. It is more important now than ever that you let your Congress critters and elected representatives know what you think. Send them a snail mail, email, telephone, telegraph, semaphore, smoke signals, carrier pigeons, bicycle messengers, drum messages, whatever you have to do to let them know what you think, and never, ever, ever give up the fight. I'll see you guys on the next one.